I'm tired of having to work harder to bypass mediocre men.
They went with a guy who had less experience than me.
Women make up 50% of the population. Why is it that we're only about 5% of the below the line workers?
They said our names wouldn't make the slate, so we're calling our own shots. Slated Women Filmmakers. Real opportunities, real sisterhood.
Welcome to Slated Women Filmmakers. I'm Allie Mae, and this is our producer, Pamela Torrance, and we're here to talk about the real pathways that women use to break in, stay in, and get paid, turning individual experiences into the collective opportunity and to lift others up as we rise. Today, I'm excited to welcome Katrina Medoff, co-executive director and co-founder of the Moonshot Initiative. Katrina is a multi-hyphenate creative, an actor, a writer, and a producer who has built her career both in front of and behind the camera. She's also spent a decade as an editor-in-chief of Boro magazine, shaping stories rooted in community and voice. Now through Moonshot, she's focused on something incredibly impactful, creating real pathways for women and gender-expansive writers to break into television and build sustainable careers. Welcome to Slated, Katrina. So first of all, did I get everything right there, or is there anything that needs to be corrected?
Well, I started out in the industry as an actor, writer, producer. I was really working in theater and then started getting into the film world. And it was there that I realized that I was on set with primarily all men. It would be often just me and maybe the hair and makeup artist on set who were the only women. And that's really how I got started creating Moonshot Initiative with my co-founder Tracy, who is also working in the New York City independent film industry. And it's really grown out of us being in the industry ourselves, knowing what filmmakers need, knowing what writers need to succeed, and looking at it from the perspective of what is the exact resource that I need myself, and how do we give that to our community of women and gender expansive writers, filmmakers, creators.
That's brilliant. I love that. So tell us more about the initiative.
Yeah, so we started Moonshot Initiative with our signature film challenge, our Moonshot Film Challenge, where we put together crews of all women and gender expansive filmmakers to write, shoot, and edit a short film. And we provide all of the equipment, production insurance, a giant premiere screening with 500 people. And during COVID, we obviously couldn't do that for a little while. And so that's where Moonshot Initiative really grew from just being about the film challenge to having an entire array of educational and networking opportunities. And we started the program that we are in the process of accepting applications for right now, which is the Moonshot Pilot Accelerator. So that is where we get hundreds of submissions from writers with full pilot scripts. We select 6 to 8 fellows and put them through a 3 week intensive on pitching and the industry before setting them up on one pitch meetings with HBO, Netflix, Hulu, Showtime, Stars, Amazon. It goes on, agents and managers, and finding a real way to get their foot in the door for opportunities. We do that as well with our feature accelerator, too. We'll be doing that again next year.
I love that idea so much. Are your fellows clearly landing real opportunities after the initiative, after they've gone through the program?
Yes, we had a fellow who sold a project to a production company that she pitched to. It's a production company with shows that everyone in the world has heard of, and we can't announce it yet because it hasn't been made public. But what was really cool was that she was then able to hire another fellow, another alum from another year into that writer's room. And that's because we have this really extensive alumni network where they're meeting up every month or every couple months, and we try to keep those relationships going. But yes, we've also had people get representation from meeting an agent in our pilot accelerator meetings. We have a lot of fellows who are now in writers rooms. We have a lot of fellows who are expanding their careers. We have fellows who have filmed at South by Southwest and Sundance, and we are just really excited about this cohort. All of these alums are growing their careers at the same time. So they're all able to not only take the network that they gained from those one-on-one pitch meetings, but also the network of the other fellows. I was just in one of those alumni meetups, and one of our fellows said, "Oh, hey, I know this development exec who's looking for this specific type of project. If anyone has one, I'll send it over for you." So they're really a rising tide lifts all boats, and we're really excited about that.
It sounds like it's almost like the kind of connections that you get in film school and that follow you through your career, that kind of connections with one another.
Yeah, I didn't go to film school personally. I studied acting and creative writing and French. And I don't think you need to go to film school to succeed in this industry by any means, but I do think you need to build a network of peers.
Yeah,
And
for
I
sure.
think those are the people who are going to read your script and give you notes. Our alums do that all the time for each other. Those are the people who are going to say, hey, you need a manager. I think you would vibe really well with my manager. They're the person who's going to be able to hire you in a writer's room when they get a show sold, which is what happened with one of our fellows hiring another fellow. And I think that community is invaluable. You really cannot put a value on that.
You really can't. And that's what everyone needs, a network. So, what specifically are you looking for in applicants that signals not just talent, but readiness to move to that next level?
We're really looking for two things in our applicants. We are looking for the script readiness as well as the ability to really learn how to pitch because our program is all about prepping the pitch. We are going in with these scripts having been vetted by multiple industry judges. These are showrunners, TV series creators, high level TV writers. So we know that these scripts are really ready to be seen by industry folks. And what we really do in our process is get the pitches so ready that when they walk into those meetings with HBO, Netflix, et cetera, they feel super, super confident for this opportunity. And so in our application review process, we have our selection committee of past fellows who's looking at the scripts. Then there's a phase of the review process where people are asked to submit 2-minute pitch videos, and we look at those. We get those scripts sent to industry judges when you reach the semifinal level, and the finalists we interview. So we have an opportunity to have a similar meeting to what these folks would have with execs. So we're looking for that magic, both the pitch and the writing are there.
Yeah. Are you helping them hone their pitching voices or styles?
Yeah, we provide a lot of resources for what to put in your pitch and how to structure the pitch so that by the time they come in, they have something that we can really work with and mold. They get feedback from a speech coach, from a showrunner who has successfully pitched projects before, and from a development exec. And so they have all these different ways to look at and work on their pitch throughout the process so that by the time they get to pitch week, they're really confident. And we always tell the fellows that these people are going to give you conflicting feedback. That is inevitable. There is no one perfect way to pitch. And it's a lot of decision making on which feedback resonates with me. What am I going to take? How am I going to present my project? Because ultimately, that's what's important.
That's amazing. That also, in turn, creates more connection too as they work with those executives and those people, the coaches and all that, introducing them to other people beyond other writers in the room, right? So that's really incredible. Can I ask you a question that's important to me personally? And I think it's important to a lot of our audience. Do you feel like there's age limits on who you would be looking for the initiative?
Absolutely not. There is no age limit. Our applicants must be 18 or over, but we've had fellows across many decades, and we find that life experience is so valuable for being a writer. These industry judges, when they're looking at filling their writers' rooms, they want a variety of experiences. And so what's amazing is when our fellows are able to bring their own life experiences into the projects that they create and into those conversations about the projects. We had a fellow who wrote a script about true crime podcasters, and she had like a legal background and had been in a lot of courtrooms and stuff. And like, that's super exciting. That's not just a writer who has been sitting behind a desk all the time. That's a writer who has some real life experiences that can be brought onto the page. And so I think, experience in life, it's all so valuable, especially in TV when writers' rooms are looking for a whole range of voices and experiences.
That's amazing. I appreciate that so much as a mature writer myself, and I know that a lot of our audience will too. So, and it makes it worthwhile to apply, right? The reason I ask the question is because a lot of times women of a certain age apply to things and their age or their gender just eliminates them from the real running. So they spend the money to put in their application and the time to put in their application, And it's just rejected because of one of those two things. And that's a waste of time and money. So I think it's an important question to ask upfront and to get a really frank and clear response on.
Is there a location specificity for anybody who applies? Do they fly to a certain location to do this workshop, or is it more remote and interactive online?
This entire process is virtual, so you can apply from anywhere in the world. We've had fellows, primarily they are East Coast, West Coast, some in Europe, because it does have to happen Pacific time. That's when our execs are able to set up meetings, typically, is during the workday Pacific time. We've had a couple fellows in Europe who have stayed up till 2 a.m. and pitched their project, and they were so excited to have that opportunity. But yeah, keep that in mind about sort of when all of the workshops will take place and if you would be available for that depending on your time zone. We do have something really exciting this year. If you happen to live in New York City, we have a grant from the Mayor's Office of Media and Entertainment that guarantees that one of our 6 to 8 fellow spots is going to go to a New York City resident. So this is their way to invest in inclusion in this industry, and this is really exciting. If you live in New York, it gives you an extra leg up. So we have a way for you to let us know where you live in the application. And if you live in New York, you should definitely do that. And if you don't, again, no worries. All of those other spots are still open to anyone, regardless of where you live.
That's a really great thing to do. I have a few followers that I know are from New York City, so I'm sure they'll be applying just for that, and they're great writers.
Definitely pass that along to anyone you know who lives in New York, especially, but really to any writers you know. I think a lot of times writers are told that if they don't live in LA, they have no shot of getting into the industry. And I think that's not true these days, especially when there are a lot of virtual rooms, but also, you could always go to where an opportunity is if an opportunity comes up. I think people are taking so many more virtual meetings these days. It really has opened up some possibilities. So we've had fellows all over the place. We've had several fellows in Atlanta, which has a really great industry going there too. And, so just definitely think about applying. Don't cut yourself out of opportunities like this because of factors like you said, like age or location. Really put yourself up for opportunities that you feel are right for you because you never know where it's going to lead.
Yep, you never know. That's great.
Are you looking for any specific genre, or is it just agnostic when it comes to genre? And you're looking for pilots and features and short films, or no short films?
In terms of genre, we are looking for a mix of comedy and drama because when we bring execs onto your pitches, some of them exclusively work in comedy or drama. And what we do when we have our fellows is we have this list of the fellows and their bios and their log lines, and we send those log lines over to the execs. And the execs have already agreed that they're going to hear at least 3 pitches. Now, some of them end up hearing more because they're really excited by certain ideas, but they've decided to hear at least 3 pitches. So we want to make sure that there is a great selection, regardless of whether the exec is more focused on half hours or hour-long projects. This particular year, the Moonshot Pilot Accelerator, we're only looking for half-hour and hour-long TV pilot scripts. We also have our Moonshot Feature Accelerator, which looks for feature-length scripts, and that will be coming up next year. If you have one of those, definitely look to getting it ready. If you're a writer who doesn't have a script yet and you want to apply for something like this in the future, definitely give us a follow as well and take a look at some of our courses and stuff. We have a Write a Pilot in 30 Days course. We actually just finished it pretty recently, and we had 80 people finish, writing pilots, getting their ideas on the page. We worked through the process with them day by day, and we have one about revising a pilot and how to pitch, where we bring in some of that knowledge that we learned from sitting in on 232 pitch meetings with the biggest companies in the industry. We were able to bring that into not only coaching the fellows on their pitches for Pitch Week, but anyone who's interested in learning more about pitching, we wanted to open that opportunity up for the wider community.
Does your program also cater to people who are going to go the independent producing route? Is there a way to be introduced to other, not so much studio execs, but independent producers who are actually actively making film?
We do that quite a bit more for our Moonshot Feature Accelerators. We'll have producers hearing pitches. We try to get financiers and things like that, people who have the ability to get those projects to the next level and off the ground. And so, with the Pilot Accelerator, we have some producers hearing pitches too. We actually had one of our Pilot Accelerator fellows pitch her pilot, and there was something about her personal experiences that she shared during the pitch that the producer was really interested in, and they ended up developing a feature together based on that part of her life story. And so you never really know where these relationships are going to take you. And we always tell people that these first meetings, these are like a first date. And this is your way of creating long-term relationships in the industry, because you never know which project is going to be the one that they're really interested in. And if they're going to have a writer's room that you could slot into a few years down the line, or if something that you bring back to them 3 years from now is what they actually want to make, but they were just keeping an eye on you as a writer.
Yeah, why don't you tell us what the deadlines are and what writers should be prepared for?
Applications are now open for the Moonshot Pilot Accelerator, and applications go through May 27th. You can find on our website, moonshotinitiative.org. And then the actual submission platform that we're using is Scribe. We link to it on moonshotinitiative.org. And we are going to be doing our feature accelerator again, probably 2027. Just keep that in mind. If you are a feature writer, get on our mailing list, follow us on Instagram at Moonshot Initiative, and you'll be hearing all of the updates when that happens.
Let's hope that this is a great year for Moonshot and that hundreds of women submit to the program. To everyone listening, if you're a writer ready to take the next step, applications are open now, so please don't wait.
They opened April 1st. We have an early, regular, late, and final deadline. So as early as you can submit, that's when you're going to get the best pricing. The applications close for good on May 27th.
Well, thank you so much, Katrina, for coming on Slated to tell us about this and for the work that you're doing and for sharing this with us today. Programs like Moonshot don't just open doors, they actually walk filmmakers through them, and that's what this industry needs more of. To everyone listening, if you're a writer ready to take the next step, applications are open now, so don't wait. Moonshot has generously offered 10% off for our listeners, and we have a code for that that's Slated10. As always, if this conversation resonated with you, please share it with another filmmaker who needs to hear about it. I'm Allie Mae, this is Pam Torrance, and this is Slated Women Filmmakers. Thank you for listening.